You know that highly specific but totally universal frustration of being the one person in a group project who actually does the work.
Oh, yeah. Everyone knows that feeling.
Right. Like you do all the heavy lifting, you secure the A for the team, and then the second the grade is in, the rest of the group decides you're, I don't know, a little too intense.
Right. They stop inviting you to lunch.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
They whisper about you being a control freak. So what do?
You step back.
You step back, you put your phone on airplane mode,
Yeah.
you focus on your own life and just leave them to their own devices.
Yeah.
But then 3 hours before the final exam for the next semester, your phone lights up.
And they're panicking.
They're failing miserably, and they are literally begging for your help.
It's a sociological dynamic we've all lived through on a micro scale, but today we're scaling that exact psychological phenomenon up to a galactic civilization-defining level.
Welcome to today's deep dive. We are thrilled you're here with us.
Yeah?
We are pulling apart a, well, really foundational piece of HFY. That's humanity, yeah?
Yeah.
That's science fiction.
The species that answered.
Yes, the species that answered. Now, if you follow this subgenre, you already know the broad strokes. You know about the massive armadas, the impossible weapons.
The explosive space battles.
Yeah, all of that. But our mission for you today isn't just to recap a plot you've likely read or heard about on forums.
Right, because the space battles are really just the aesthetic surface. What we're really unpacking today is the underlying architecture of this universe.
The nuts and bolts of it.
Exactly. We're examining the astropolitical irony of isolationism, the actual theoretical physics behind the lore's most famous weapons, and, well, what this narrative reveals about humanity's highly specific, deeply unsettling brand of stubborn resilience.
Okay, let's unpack this setup, because the inciting incident is legendary. It's exactly 03.17 Universal Standard Time.
A very specific time.
Very specific. And humanity has been walled off behind the Orion Expanse for 300 years.
3 centuries of total silence.
Right, like no trade, no communications, completely off the grid. And then that 3-century silence is shattered by a hyperwave transmission overriding every single human network.
And we have to look closely at the subtext of that 300-year silence, I think, because the text makes it explicitly clear that humanity didn't retreat out of military weakness.
No, not at all.
Or fear of the unknown. They left because of systemic burnout.
They were just exhausted. I mean, they were so tired of the galactic unions, endless bureaucratic infighting, the proxy wars, all these species that just refused to learn from their own historical mistakes.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the historical irony of that 03.17 transmission is staggering.
Oh, totally.
Because remember, 4 centuries prior, during the First Void War, humanity effectively threw themselves into the meat grinder to save the Galactic Union.
Millions of humans died.
Millions. They defended alien homeworlds from total collapse.
And the Union's gratitude was essentially a polite excommunication.
Yeah, pretty much.
The Union deliberately excluded humans from leadership circles. The lore states they feared human influence, that our ambition and our lateral thinking were just too volatile.
We were painted as dangerous when we won their wars and reckless when we tried to rebuild their infrastructure.
So humanity essentially said, fine, good luck without us, and went off to build a utopian, scientifically isolated civilization.
Which is why that 03.17 transmission from Supreme Chancellor Varric is so pathetic, yet so compelling.
It's so cringeworthy.
It really is. Varric represents the very political body that spent centuries running a smear campaign against humanity, calling us obsolete and unnecessarily aggressive.
Yeah.
Yet his emergency message is just 7 words. Humanity, please help us, we're losing.
Wait, I have to push back on the sheer audacity of Eric for a second here. Imagine you were President Elena Ward.
Right.
The Galactic Union spends hundreds of years telling the galaxy you belong in the trash can of history.
Right.
Then, the second a mysterious enemy wipes out 70% of their military, they just expect you to answer the phone.
It's wild.
The absolute nerve. I mean, I would leave them on read for another century.
Well, it is the ultimate test of a civilization's moral framework. Does your resentment override your empathy?
Yeah, that's the real question.
The United Earth Council is sitting in that chamber listening to a proud alien leader beg. And the intelligence briefing on the enemy, they're called the Devourers, is terrifying not because of what is known, but what is absent.
The unknowns.
Exactly. The Union describes massive black warships, each larger than a moon, with completely unknown biology and origins.
Admiral Marcus Hayes has that incredible, grim observation in the council room. He just looks at the telemetry and whispers, "The galaxy finally needs us."
It's a chilling moment.
So chilling. But when the Council asks for an enemy ship count, the Union's answer is literally, "We don't know."
Yeah.
And in tactical terms, "we don't know" is the scariest phrase in the English language.
Absolutely. The Union has lost 70% of its strength to an unquantifiable force. Humanity debates this for 3 agonizing days.
3 whole days.
And their ultimate response to this existential galaxy-ending threat is what fundamentally shifts the tone of the entire narrative. They don't send an armada.
No, it's in one single vessel.
Just one.
And you all know the ship. The Silver Ship, captained by Sophia Reynolds. But I want to talk about the design of this ship because it completely subverts the militaristic tropes of the genre.
It really does.
Like, when you face moon-sized dreadnoughts, you expect humanity to send a spiky, terrifying battleship covered in guns. Instead, they send something that looks like an art installation.
It's an unarmored, perfectly smooth silver hull with 0 visible weapon batteries. It looks like a luxury diplomatic yacht.
Yeah.
And this is a deliberate psychological choice by the author and by humanity within the lore. It projects an almost insulting level of post-scarcity hubris.
Total flex.
Exactly. Chancellor Varric actually panics when he sees it. He's demanding to know why she brought one ship while billions are burning.
And Sophia Reynolds delivers that iconic, terrifyingly calm line. She just says, "Because one is enough."
The Union commanders think it's suicidal arrogance, because moments later, the Devourers actually arrive. 4,000 colossal black warships drop into the system to face this one mirrored yacht.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, because this isn't just about a cool ship dodging lasers. The story finally reveals what human scientists were doing during 300 years of isolation.
They weren't just sitting around.
No, they weren't just refining better engines, they were actively rewriting dimensional physics.
Let's actually look at the mechanics of this engagement, because the author grounds it in fascinating theoretical science. The Silver Ship doesn't move using conventional thrusters.
Right.
It doesn't bank or roll to avoid fire. It utilizes localized probability manipulation.
Yes. Instead of dodging, it's basically forcing the universe to choose a different outcome. For anyone trying to visualize this, it's like entering a massive multiplayer boss fight. But humanity has turned on God mode cheat codes where the hitboxes literally don't exist anymore.
That's a great analogy. Or imagine flipping a coin 1 billion times and it landing on the edge every single time.
Right. Just completely defying the odds.
In classical physics, evasion requires physical acceleration out of a projectile's path. But quantumly, what the human ship is doing is surrounding itself in a localized probability field.
Okay, break that down for us.
So when the Devourers fire a planet-shattering laser, the mathematical probability of that laser striking the Silver Ship is, say, 99.9%.
It's basically a guaranteed hit.
Exactly. The ship's drive essentially collapses the quantum waveform to select the 0.000001% timeline, where the Devourer's targeting system experienced a microscopic glitch.
Oh, wow.
Or the energy beam just quantum tunneled right through the hull without interacting with the atoms.
So to the Union sensors, physics is just screaming in protest. The ship is instantly occupying different coordinates without traveling the space between them.
It's teleportation via math.
Yeah. And while it's doing this impossible dance, it's deleting 50-kilometer-long dreadnoughts, not blowing them up, deleting them in flashes of white light. No shields matter, no armor matters.
Because again, they aren't firing conventional kinetic or thermal weapons. If you can manipulate probability and dimensional states, you don't need to punch a hole in a ship.
Right.
You just convince reality that the space the enemy ship occupies should suddenly be a vacuum, or that its atomic bonds no longer exist.
It is deeply unsettling. I mean, imagine you're a Union sensor operator watching the telemetry. You're watching an enemy that has systematically butchered your galaxy for years, suddenly realize they are fighting a ghost.
It's terrifying.
The Devourers fire thousands of weapons simultaneously enough to turn a planet into glass, and reality just refuses to let the human ship be touched.
This creates a behavioral anomaly in the Devourers. For the first time in their recorded existence, after 6 hours of fighting a single ship, they retreat. The invincible armada runs away.
And while the Union is literally popping champagne, Captain Reynolds shatters the illusion. She casually informs Varric that the 4,000 moon-sized ships were just a forward scouting party.
Just the scouts.
Yeah, and the main invasion force is estimated at 20 million warships.
20 million. The scale is intentionally paralyzing.
It's absurd.
You can have the most advanced probability drive in the universe, But the sheer computational weight of fighting 20 million ships means a single vessel, or even a traditional fleet, will eventually be overwhelmed. The math dictates extinction.
But Reynolds just smiles and says, "Fortunately, we have a plan." And this brings us to the absolute peak of the story's technological escalation.
The escalation is incredible.
Because if probability manipulation was humanity playing with quantum dice, their next trick is brute force astrophysics. The stellar spears.
What's fascinating here is tracing the lineage of this technology. During their isolation, humanity mastered artificial stellar generation.
They made suns.
Yes, they figured out how to spark and contain actual functioning suns. Generation 1 powered their outer colonies. Generation 2 provided infinite clean energy for entire planets. It was the crowning achievement of a pacifist post-scarcity utopia.
But human unpredictability always finds a way to weaponize a miracle. The third generation of these artificial stars wasn't built for power grids. They were engineered as munitions. They took captive suns and found a way to violently collapse them into miniature supernovas on demand.
When Chancellor Varick learns this, the sheer cosmic horror of it breaks him. He asks, "You built stars as bombs."
His brain just short circuits.
Right, because to the alien mind, the universe has rigid taxonomies. A star is celestial architecture. A laser is a weapon. You don't blur those lines.
And Sophia Reynolds gives that chillingly casual response. We're human.
It's a great moment.
It really is. But I have to stop right here and pose a serious philosophical pushback to you. Doesn't this completely shatter the illusion of humanity's 300-year peaceful utopia?
How so?
Well, if your society is supposedly dedicated to art, science, and enlightened isolation, why are your engineers secretly figuring out how to stuff a supernova into a missile silo? It makes humanity sound profoundly paranoid, if not outright psychotic.
That is the exact moral ambiguity the author wants you to wrestle with. It's a reflection of the dark forest theory, intertwined with human trauma.
Okay, tell me more.
Humanity remembers the First Void War. They remember being used and discarded. They understand that a peaceful utopia is only as secure as the walls protecting it.
So it's defensive paranoia.
Yes. They didn't build the stellar spears with the intent to conquer the Union. They built them because they possess a deeply ingrained evolutionary understanding that the universe is indifferent and apex predators are always out there.
So they chose to become the apex predator just in case.
Exactly.
And that paranoia pays off because months later, the 20 million Devourer ships arrive. They literally blot out the light of the stars.
Yeah.
The Galactic Union governments are in total freefall, and humanity launches Operation Dawn. Thousands of ships drop out of hyperspace, flying directly into the teeth of the swarm.
And we get that mythic apocalyptic imagery. The human ships don't bother dodging this time.
No probability drives for this one.
Right, they drive straight into the formations and deploy the spears.
They drop newborn stars into the void. For a fraction of a second, it outshines the galaxy, and then the containment fields drop. The artificial suns collapse and detonate.
Just instant devastation.
Entire quadrants of the Devourer fleet are just instantly vaporized in supernova fire. They do it again and again. The text describes the darkness of space literally catching on fire.
This launches a grueling 2-year war of absolute attrition. Humanity is grinding down the swarm, system by system, dropping stars like artillery shells.
Just hammering them.
And this relentless, unyielding pressure is what finally forces the architects of the Devourers out into the open.
Right, because we discover the Devourers aren't just an insectoid hive mind or a rogue AI. The true leaders are ancient entities. Beings older than terrestrial civilizations, born in the primordial era of the universe.
They have existed for so long, they have literally forgotten the concept of a viable threat.
They think they're gods.
They do. The psychology of these ancient entities is crucial here. Imagine an intelligence that has never experienced failure, never felt physical fear.
Unimaginable arrogance.
And suddenly, this infant species, humanity, barely a blip on the cosmic timeline, is systematically burning their armada to ash.
Yeah.
The entity reaches out telepathically, bypassing all technology, to speak directly to Earth. It asks one deeply arrogant question: why do you resist?
And humanity, channeling centuries of collective, deeply ingrained spite, replies with 4 words. Because someone needs to.
The juxtaposition is brilliant. The Devourers possess the ultimate advantage in age, numbers, and cosmic entitlement. But humanity brings something entirely foreign to the entity.
Which is?
An irrational biological refusal to capitulate. They never quit.
The entity actually laughs at the transmission, which proves it fundamentally misunderstands what it's dealing with, because humanity doesn't set a follow-up threat. They just instantly drop a fleet of 10,000 warships directly on top of the entity's command fortress.
And the battle that follows is the climax of the war. The text specifically notes it lasts exactly 11 minutes.
11 minutes.
Against a godlike being older than the stars, humanity requires only 11 minutes to shatter the fortress and execute the entity.
It is such a brutal subversion of expectations. Usually the final boss fight takes days of heroic struggle.
Right, a drawn-out epic battle.
But this, it's like a bully who has ruled the playground for decades, finally punching the quiet kid, only to realize the quiet kid has been taking mixed martial arts every day for 3 years.
That's a fun way to put it. I'd also compare it to a pathogen that has spent 3 centuries mutating in absolute isolation within a hyper-pressurized Petri dish.
Oh, I like that.
By the time the galaxy's ancient immune system finally encounters it, the pathogen doesn't fight a prolonged battle. It simply bypasses every defense and shuts down the host's organs in minutes. It is cold, calculated, and efficient.
A perfect biological metaphor. The devourers functioned on the assumption of overwhelming dread. Humanity functioned on the mathematics of survival.
They didn't play with their food.
No, they identified the central nervous system of the enemy and just severed it. And with the ancient entity dead, the hive mind splinters. The war takes another 5 years of cleanup, but the existential threat is over. The galaxy is saved. Again.
Which brings us to the aftermath and the most tense political standoff of the entire story.
Because everyone listening is thinking the exact same thing. Is the Galactic Union going to stab humanity in the back a second time?
The tension is palpable, the dust settles, monuments are being built, but the power dynamic has completely inverted. Humanity is no longer the scrappy underdog.
No way.
They are the undisputed masters of the universe, holding the keys to probability drives and supernova bombs.
Chancellor Varric travels to Earth to stand before the United Earth Council. It's broadcast live to trillions of beings. And Varric does something that his species is biologically and culturally conditioned never to do. He physically bows.
A profound act of absolute submission. Varric publicly dissects his own civilization's historical failures. He admits, "We judged you unfairly. We feared your strength. We feared your potential. We were wrong."
It's a huge moment of vindication.
And then, in a moment of desperate political survival, he asks humanity to take the lead, to rule the Galactic Union.
And President Elena Ward's response is a masterclass in quiet power. The entire galaxy is holding its breath. She smiles, agrees to help rebuild, but she establishes 3 absolute laws for the new era.
No species above another, no species forgotten, no species abandoned.
So good.
This raises an important question about the underlying philosophy of HFY literature. Often the genre falls into the trap of human supremacy, humans dominating the galaxy through sheer violence.
Right, the whole "we're the biggest and baddest" trope.
Exactly. But the author here sidesteps that. President Ward doesn't establish a Terran empire. She effectively dismantles the hierarchy that marginalized humanity in the first place.
So what does this all mean for you listening to this? Humanity didn't conquer the galaxy with their newfound power. The ultimate flex wasn't building the stellar spears or rewriting dimensional physics.
It was their moral compass.
Yes, it was experiencing centuries of rejection, acquiring the power to exact total revenge, and choosing radical empathy instead. They democratized the galaxy. The story closes by noting that for the first time, the galactic community wasn't held together by a fear of the unknown, but by a collective hope.
It forces the reader to realize that humanity's isolation wasn't just a technological incubator, it was an ethical one.
Oh, that's a great point.
They needed those 300 years away from the corruption of galactic politics to figure out who they actually wanted to be when the universe eventually called on them again.
It's a brilliant reframing. Being underestimated, being the outcast, it isn't just a burden. In this story, it was the exact condition required to save everyone.
We want to leave you with a final thought to chew on, pulling this grand sci-fi narrative down to our own reality.
Let's hear it.
The story argues that humanity's 3 centuries of absolute isolation allowed for their spectacular advancement. So for you, navigating an era of relentless digital connection, hyper-availability, and endless notifications, is there a profound lesson here?
Hmm.
Is there an immense untapped power in deliberately stepping back, silencing the endless galactic politics of your daily feed, and quietly doing the deep, focused work until the exact moment your unique skills are truly needed?
Wow. Yeah, maybe putting your phone on airplane mode while the rest of the group project panics isn't just a defensive move. Maybe it's the only way to give yourself the quiet space to figure out how to build a supernova. So when the real test comes, you're ready to answer. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next.